What's going on YouTube? Welcome to my channel Money Moves with KIMK, and today we're going to talk about cheap properties you can potentially buy under $10,000. And I say potentially because you have to do your due diligence in order to see if it's a good deal for you. But I wanted to show you that there's options out there. You may have to put a little sweat equity into the property or hire out to get these properties up and running for you. However, these could potentially be some good real estate investments for you or homes for yourself, okay, and your family. So without further ado, let's get to it. So the first property I want to discuss with you guys is in Iowa. So this property it has 6 bedrooms and 7 bathrooms. It's 2,797 square feet. Okay. And it was built in the 1890s. Now, I'll identify why I picked this property in general, because there's a ton of properties on Zillow and other websites similar to this. I'll tell you why I picked this property to highlight for this video. Number one, it seems to be one of the ugliest houses in the neighborhood, okay? The neighborhood seems affluent, as in a working class neighborhood, and that's what you kind of want to do. You want to try to find one of the ugliest properties in the neighborhood and fix it up to potentially, that's called like wedge deals. You're finding properties that have a lot of equity in them and you can fix them up to do as you please with them, okay? Everybody's idea of what they want to do with these properties is completely different. So if you look at these pictures, again, it was built, I think it said 1890. So it's a fairly older home. So you would have to do quite a bit of repairs, and to know that those repairs will be coming with a home that's this old, okay? So this is why I picked this property to highlight in the video, is because it could be used potentially as a multi-unit. And I'll go back to the listing for a second because I want to read the listing. It helps with identifying everything that can be done with this property. It says this property sells as is, investment opportunity for fix and flip or rental property. Is currently set up as a two bedroom, so two bedrooms, and a one bedroom apartment, but can be modified as you wish. That's what alerted me to check out this property even further. Let's take a look at it street view so that you can see what's going on and what I mean by that. So there's some pride of ownership in the neighborhood. I tend to look at grass. I know that's not what you're supposed to judge a neighborhood on, but I do. I love grass. I'm a homeowner, so I love a property that is well maintained and really takes care of their grass. And I'm gonna highlight this house. They really did a good job with the grass. I don't know, it's my thing. All right, so if you look around, you can see some pride of ownership. I would highly suggest that you go up and down the road, and you can do that by the little arrows here. But for right now, I just wanted to show you the neighborhood. And as you can see, our subject property, which is right here, needs a lot of work. And that's where you come in, potentially, right? You have to do your due diligence and ensure that this is a good deal for you. But I wanted to highlight this because you could potentially use this as a multi-unit. So the possibilities are endless, and you want to use the highest and best use for this property. So if you have a property that has higher potential than what it currently is, so what I mean by that is currently is a residential property, but it could potentially be used as maybe an Airbnb, or if not an Airbnb, a multi-unit, because it said that it has 2 one-bedrooms, okay, from my understanding of the listing. And this looks to be one of those properties that you potentially could convert into a living space. I don't know. But I do see 2 chairs here as if it was an opportunity for somebody to live in. Of course, you would need to visit the property, check out the property, contact the realtor that is selling this property, and identify how much repairs are needed to actually fix this property up. That's a part of your due diligence as well, to ensure that you don't get into a property that you're not able to actually pay for. Which brings me to another point, is making sure you have the cash in order to do all of these repairs and due diligence, because as is listed, the property is listed for $5,700. So $5,700. However, it looks like it will take a ton of extra cash or money, I'll say, in order to fix it up. Okay. And yeah, that's one of the properties I want to highlight, is in Iowa. And the property has 6 bedrooms, 7 baths, listed at $5,700. Excuse me. Moving on. So this property is in Mississippi. Now, I have a really good breakdown of this property because this is where my expertise really is as well, is auction properties, all right? So this says for sale by owner. That is one of the things, and it's in Indianola, Mississippi, by the way. The price, let me go over that first. The price is $7,500. I got super excited, so I kind of skipped all the information. So the price is $7,500. And you look at it and say, "Okay, I will not pay $1 for this," right? Some of you may say that, some of you may not. You may see the potential. What caught my attention with this property is that it is a brick home, okay? Not all brick homes are meant to last forever, ever, but it's a lot sturdier or a better material to use with building a home than other material, right? So, and of course, you still need to identify if the foundation is good and all that good stuff. So let's take a look at pictures real quick, and I'll show you and point out some of the things that I wanted to talk about. All right, so if you scroll down, you can see that the roof would need some work. Okay, it's gonna need a new roof. I'm not a contractor, but I can already tell that. And you can see some graffiti here. I don't necessarily, it doesn't say any words or anything, but keep those things in mind as you're looking at these properties too. Here you can see the interior of the home, and it looks pretty bad. You're gonna need to do a lot of repairs. If you are a contractor yourself, this may not be a bad thing. You're gonna need a new door, more than likely new windows. I don't know. I'm just kind of pointing out things that I would assume that would need to be fixed on the property. So you might say, "Kay, what are the details of this property?" So let's check it out. 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, 1,600 square feet. Now they're selling the property for $7,500, but let's look at when it was built. It was built in 1994. Okay. It says make us an offer, needs TOC. This is the part I wanted to highlight to kind of go over with you guys. It says the seller obtained title to the property through tax default foreclosure. All right, so here we go. It says title will be conveyed by quitclaim deed, and the buyer is responsible for the delinquent taxes, clearing title, and any liens that may be owed. Should say seller has never occupied the property and has no knowledge of its safety or condition. This is an as is, where is transaction. All right, so let's break that down. So basically, this particular the owner of this property purchased it at a tax default foreclosure. So with that, they transferred the deed as a quitclaim deed. Now, I'll talk about this in my course. Make sure you check it out. I'll leave a link in the description and also in the comment section. It will be pinned. I go over how in the world do you know if there are other liens, because it says you have to clear the title and you, as the buyer, will be responsible for any other liens associated with the property. So how do you figure out if it has other liens? That's a part of a due diligence. Also, what I teach is how to actually look up the owner, because if you're purchasing a property for sale by owner, this is good for Zillow, Facebook Marketplace, or anything. A lot of times I'm not saying this person is, but a lot of times there could be scams out there. This person could be totally legit. But what I would do is I would look at the actual, the GIS system or the GIS or public records in general, and identify who is the actual owner of this property. Because if I call this number, it's a number below. I won't go to the number. If I call the number and a person who's saying they are the owner of the property says their name is John Smith, I know that that's not true. I already looked up the property and I know the person's name is not John Smith. It's somebody else. All right. So if that name matches, I can say, okay, we're off to a good start. This person is the actual legal owner of the property at the moment. Okay. So identifying due diligence, or not identifying due diligence, but knowing how to conduct due diligence and knowing how to do some of that background information really helps no matter what you're trying to do or where you're trying to buy from, whether it be Zillow, Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, any of that. If you're purchasing a piece of property, which could be land or a home, it's very vital to know who is the actual owner of the property. I go over all that, guys, in the course. It's a really good course, over 4 hours of instruction. I highly suggest to check it out. It's for beginners, all right? So I wanted to highlight this property. 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, 1,600 square feet. You would also need to know if how much the property is actually worth. If the property is only worth $80,000 and it costs $70,000 to fix this property up, then it may or may not, depending on your return on investment, that may not be a good deal. It wouldn't be a good deal for Kay, okay? Because that's too close to what I could actually sell the property for. So again, I talk about that in my course. I won't get into that right here, but I wanted to highlight this property so you could see what it is, all right? Moving on. This property in Texas, Sweetwater, Texas, to be exact. Now, the cost is $10,000. And I know you're saying, well, that's not under $10,000 as the video says, but check me out. Watch this. The price is listed for $10,000. They've already did a price cut of $5,000. And it's 1 bed, 1 bathroom, 736 square feet. It's not a big home. We actually have a home that we built ground up, a new construction home, and we have a 500 square foot guest house attached to that home, okay? And we rent out both sides. But I'll tell you, the 500 square foot guest house rents better than any of our properties because people really identify with the smaller space. I really like that smaller space. It's not everybody's jam, but I say that to say, don't allow a 1 bedroom, 1 bath scare you. Being honest, I would not buy a 1 bedroom, 1 bath that's on the market like this. This is why, but I can tell you how I can use this, and I can tell you how to get it at a cheaper price. What I would do with this one is first, it needs a lot of work. First of all, we can see, all right. And it could potentially have bugs or something because I see the Raid, I think, or bug spray on the counter. All right, so you know you're gonna need to do some work to it and put in some sweat equity to this property. What I would do with properties like this is identify the zoning, because it could behoove you to just purchase this property strictly for the land. It may not even be that the home is valuable to you, but I would identify how much the land is worth. And I will also identify what is the zoning. You want to look at the highest and best use, okay? So checking out the zoning is very important. But the reason why this is even on the list is because it's been on Zillow on the market for 495 days. So and it's already been 1 price cut. It lets me know as a buyer, a potential buyer, that this person could be willing to negotiate. If I offer this person $7,000, $5,000, I don't know what they would say through our realtors, of course, but you can only imagine that if it's been on the market for that long, you have to question what's wrong with it, number one. Number two, you would need to see if you can get a better deal than $10,000. And normally sellers are willing and ready to just say, I'm tired of dealing with it. Go ahead. I'll take $5,000 for it. I'm not saying that this seller would take $5,000 for it, but you could potentially get a better deal because it's been on Zillow or the market for so long. So keep that in mind. And that's why it's on the list. It can be under $10,000 in my personal opinion, if you really negotiate that price. Okay. That's the end of my video. I really wanted to show you various properties across the United States to give you an idea of when I look at a property, what I'm looking for, how I do my due diligence. I didn't tell you how to do it, but kind of just discussed it briefly. And yeah, I hope that this video brought you some value. If you made it this far in the video, go ahead and comment, I did it. Okay, I did it. It lets me know that you made it this far in the video, and I truly do appreciate it. Thank you so much, guys. You stay blessed. Peace.